So in today's session, we will be covering the final topic in your syllabus, that is combined footing. Combined footing will be the last portion in the footing portion. Up till now in the footing portion, we have completed isolated footing and we have done two cases in that were isolated square footing, that was a pad footing, and then we saw the brief about our isolated slope footing. And in this session, we will be looking upon the second type of footing, that is a combined footing. Now, what do you mean by combined footing? Combined footing means that if two or more columns are combined to form a singular, or you can say common footing, then it is called a combined footing. So basically we will be looking upon the theory that will be asked in your GT examination. In your GT examination, the design of combined footing is not been asked, only the design steps are being asked. So we will be covering that too. So moving further, starting the today's session, first we will be seeing that what is a combined footing. So moving towards our first topic, that is combined footing. So as you can see here, whenever two or more than two columns in a straight line are carried on a single spread footing, then it is termed as a combined footing. Isolated footings for each column are generally the economical. So if we consider the economy of the section, then isolated footings are preferred more as compared to our combined footing if we are talking about individual columns. So combined footings are provided only when it is absolutely necessary. These are the conditions when the combined footing is being provided. The first condition is that when two columns are close together, causing an overlap of the adjacent isolated footing, so it generates a common pressure bulb in that. So to overcome the difficulties in the soil bearing capacity of the structure, then we are providing a combined footing. The second step is that where soil bearing capacity is low and again causes the overlap of the adjacent isolated footing, in that case also we will be providing a combined footing. And the third case is that the proximity building line or existing building or sewer which is adjacent to the building, so we won't be getting enough space to resist or to liberate our loads from the footing itself, then we will be providing a combined footing. So these are basically the types of the combined footing that we will be looking upon. These are the conditions where we will be providing combined footing. In the left hand side figure, you can see that when two columns are adjacent to each other, then we can have a sharing of footing in that, in case it is called a combined footing. And in the right side column, you can see that the property line is just the adjacent of the footing structure, so that time also we can provide a combined footing. And these are the types of combined footing that it is available in the construction scenario. The first is a slab type footing, second is slab and beam type footing. In that the columns are connected via beam structure in the foundation itself, and the third is the strap type footing, which is a combined footing. So moving further, rectangular combined footing, this is a longitudinal bending that you will be getting in a rectangular combined bending, and this is a transfer direction bending that will be in the form of a sagging. The longitudinal bending will be in the form of a wave structure, and the transverse bending will be in the form of a sagging moment. Clear? So moving further, this will be the critical lines that you need to study upon for the design purposes, but design is not asked in your examination. So just you need to refer that these are the critical lines on which the bending moment will be maximum generated. As you can see here, section 11, 22, 55 and 66 are critical for the sections that are critical for our moments. Section 33, 44 are sections for critical shear, particularly one-way shear. So if it is asked about the one-way shear, then it will be critical along the 3-3 and 4-4 axis. And if it is asked that they critical about the moment, and then it will be along 1-1, 2-2, 5-5 and 6-6. Section for critical two-way is ABCD. As you can see, it forms a rectangular or a square, depends upon the footing. That if the footing is square footing, then ABCD will be a square structure, and if it is a rectangular footing, then ABCD will be a rectangular structure. So these are the critical sections for moment and shear when you will be needing to check for it. And these are the design steps that is been asked in your examination. So we'll be looking upon first to locate the point of application of column loads of the footing. Second, the proportion of footing such that the resultant of loads passes through the center of the footing. You need to keep in mind all the resultant force will be passing through the center of footing, because we will be considering a combined footing. So load will be applying on column that are, let us say, two columns are been there. So we need to construct a point which is at the CG of the footing, and we'll be assuming that the resultant forces are acting on that point. The third will be to computing the area of footing such that the allowable pressure is not exceeded. Then we'll be calculating the shear force and bending moments at the salient points, and hence we'll be drawing the SF and DM diagram. Then we'll be fixing the depth of footing from the maximum bending moment with the equations we already studied in the previous sessions. Calculate the transverse bending moment and design the transverse section for the depth and reinforcement of the footing. Then we'll be checking for anchorage and shear. Next, we'll be checking for footing for longitudinal shear, and hence we'll be designing the longitudinal steel. Then we'll be designing the reinforcement for the longitudinal moment and place them in an appropriate position, that it actually belongs, we'll be placing along that line of action. Then we'll be checking the development of the longitudinal steel, how much it will be extended to the column portion, and curtailing the longitudinal bars for economy, because if we extend too much, then it will be constructing a heavy structure. So we'll be curtailing it for our economic purposes. And then we'll be drawing and detailing the reinforcement and preparing the bar bending schedule. Bar bending schedule is very important because it helps in time saving, and it helps in economic safety. So these are the steps. Now we'll be looking at the sum which is being asked in your GG examination. It is the sum here is determine the planned dimensions of a combined footing. We only just need to finalize the dimensions and the plan action for the footing for a combined footing for two axially loaded columns having the following data, and it is given that there are two conditions we mentioned. The first condition is that width is not restricted, and the second is that the width is restricted to 2.3 meters. This is the data that is given in your question. There are two columns, namely C1 and C2. Both are interior columns, so there is no need to find the exterior points or the exterior bending moments. And the size of both the columns are 400 cross 400 mm. The load on column C1 is 1000 kN and the load on column C2 is 1200 kN. So the spacing between these columns is 3 meters, that is center to center, and the soil bearing capacity is 150 kN per meter square. So we'll be starting with our sum. So firstly, we will be considering or finding the total load that will be acting on the footing. So consider self-weight of the footing to be 10% of the axial loads. Load on column C1, that is given in the question to be 1000 kN, and the load on column C2 is given in the question to be 1200 kN. So the total load of columns will be 2200 kN. And assuming 10% of it to be the self-weight of the footing, so we'll be considering 10% it to be 220. So the total load that will be resisted by the column will be 2200, or you can say 2420 kilonewton, and the SPC of the soil is 150 kilonewton per meter square. So these are the basic load calculations that we need to do either in the case of isolated footing or if we are doing upon a combined footing. So the next step will be to find the area of the footing. So the area of the footing will be find out from the equation, that is total load divided by SPC of the soil. So the total load we just calculated was 2420, and the SPC is given in the equation to be 150 kilonewton per meter square. So the total area comes out to be 16.13 meters square. Now if we had to decide, or if we had to design a square footing, we just will be doing a square root of this answer, and then we'll be providing the length and width of the footing. But in this case, we need to find the CG of this section, because as it is a combined footing, the loads are acting eccentric point, and the actual CG of the footing will be at the center of the point. So from this figure you can clarify that the loads or columns are C1 and C2. As you can see here, the 1000 kN load is acting on the column C1, the 1200 kN is acting on the column C2, and both are 3 meters apart. So we need to find a distance which is in between these 2 points, and that is acting at the resultant point. As you can see here, that the resultant of these two loads are 2200 kilonewton. So we'll be considering x bar to be the distance, and we'll be calculating this distance to find out our next sums. So we'll be taking a moment across any point. We can take a moment across C12, and we can take the moment across C22. Here we'll be taking the moment across C1. So C1 will be 0. So we'll be getting the resultant of two forces, that is our resultant R and the C2 force.
So the C2 force will be providing a clockwise moment, and it will be 1200 into 3, that is the distance. And our 2200 will be providing a similar moment. If they can, that will be defined by the 2200 multiplied by x bar. X bar will be our CD distance. Clear? So the CD distance can be calculated from this method, and this distance here comes across to be 1.64 meter. So it is 1.64 meter apart from C1 column, not C2 column. Clear? So up to find the distance from C2 column, it will be 3 minus 1.64. So these are the distance that we'll be calculating, and now we'll be moving on to the question. We are supposed to find two dimensions. First, the dimensions we'll be finding if the width is not restricted, and the second we'll be finding the dimensions if the width is restricted to 2.3 meters. So if the width is not restricted, we will be considering a 1 meter projection from C1. Then the half of the length of the footing will be 1 plus 1.64. 1.64 was our the CG of the section, that was from the distance of C1. So the total length will be 2 into 2.64, that comes out to be 5.28. So that will be our total length of footing, will be considered to be 5.28 meters. Then from the projection from C2 will be 5.28 minus 1 minus 3. Clear? So it will be 1.28. So as you can see here, 1.28 is the projection from C. So width of the footing will be our total area divided by length. Total area was 16.13 and length we have just calculated to be 5.28. So the answer comes out to be 3.05. So we'll be rounding it off to 3.1 meter. So the total length and width that you have provided is 5.28 cross 3.1 meter. Now we need to check that if we have provided the dimensions correctly or not, and for that the load that is calculated or the load that is generated should always be less than the SBC of the soil. So we need to find the upward pressure for it. So the upward pressure according to the working loads will be 2200 divided by cross section area, that is our L into B. So it comes out to be 134.4, which is less than the SBC of the soil. So if it is less than the SBC of the soil, then the dimensions that you have opted for is the correct one. So this is how we'll be designing the dimensions of our combined footing if the width is not restricted. Now we'll be moving across to the section where the width is restricted to 2.3 meters. So if the width is restricted to 2.3 meters, then the area that will be common, which was calculated to be 16.13. Now the width will be restricted to 2.3. So the dimensions are clear that width is 2.13. Our area is 16.13. So the length can be calculated by area upon the side, that is 16.13 divided by 2.3. So the length comes out to be 7.01 meters. So we can't use the 7 meters because it will be less than the required value. So we'll be rounding it off to the higher value, that is 7.10 meter. So the half of the length will be 7.10 divided by 2, that will be 3.55 meters, and the projection from C1 will be 3.55 minus our CG distance, that was x bar. So it comes out to be 1.91 meters, and the projection from C2 will be 3.55 minus 3 minus x bar. 3 minus x bar was 1.36, so it will come out to be 2.19 meter. So the total actual length will be was 7.1 cross 2.3, which gives the answer to be 16.33 meters square. That will be the area. So now we'll be checking that whether we have provided a sufficient answer or not, and for that we'll be finding the net upward pressure. Net upward pressure again from the same equation, that will be total load divided by our area. So total load divided by area comes out to be 134.72, and our SBC was 150 kilonewton per meter square. So the dimensions that we have provided is correct. So this is how we'll be designing if the width is restricted to 2.3 meters. So just will be finding the other side, that is the length of the section, and if the width is not restricted, then we have the liberty to provide the projections on each side. We will be always assuming the projections to be 1 meter for our sake of simplicity, and this is how we will be calculating the dimensions of our combined footing. So this was our session depending on the combined footing. So do practice of it and keep a note of it because it will be helpful in your examination too. Thank you.